Butch, I know you just put the wraps on your early signing class for 2020. Just overall, what stands out to you about it?
Well, you're always looking from the inside out. So I look at our ball club in 2020 with all the guys that we have returning positionally and pitching-wise, and knowing that we have a ton of juniors and a ton of seniors, which is tremendous as we try to defend or get back or keep trying to put our best foot forward with the program. But also we can see into the future, looking at that telescope, man, there's a lot of juniors, maybe an entire rotation. I mean, it's likely that a Tanner Burns and a Jack Owen and a Bailey Horn, I mean, those are 3 premium arms, and they probably will not be back in 2021. You start looking at your outfield, which you feel like is set. We're 85 days away, and you feel like your outfield's set with a Stephen Williams and right. We've invested in that basically since day one. Kason Howell has been a starter, even though it's only his second year. He's been our center fielder when he can go out there. But because of age, he's sophomore draft eligible. We have to be mindful of that. And everybody says, he's a sophomore. Well, he's a sophomore draft eligible. And I'm the coach that I'm never rooting for somebody to have a bad year to get them back. Right. I want them to absolutely go off or dominate and be great, and let's let the chips fall where they may. Judd Ward, I think he's kind of the catalyst, a heart and soul guy for us in left field. Having almost double-digit assists last year from the outfield, sitting in that leadoff spot, how much he's grown since he's got here, and he just gives us that whole blue-collar, aggressive, jumping off a cliff mentality for our ball club that our fans appreciate so much. That's an entire outfield. That's 3 starters. That's a Cody Greenhill if you want to start going to the bullpen. And then I go to that infield and I see these seniors. That Matt Scheffler running the show of our pitching staff as our catcher. Connor Davis, who's been in this lineup since he got here from day one. Rankin Woolley, that's made a huge impact and will wind up being a 2-year starter. Those 3 senior at-bats. That's a pretty good nucleus of a ball club. Right. So we're looking, I say all of that to talk about what do we do recruiting-wise. When we first got here, the first thing we did was we wanted to get better. That was the title of our recruiting. And we went and got 3/4 of our recruits were junior college players in a couple of high school. Once we felt like we started moving the program forward, we didn't think that was long-term, and we immediately flipped that. Now the last 2 classes, and we've been fortunate enough to have 3 top 10, recruiting classes in this short period of time. But what happened was how you start getting ranked in the top 10 nationally from a recruiting standpoint is numbers, high school, and a lot of pitching. And that's what really is carries heavy weight. And we've moved these last 3 classes to 3/4 of it being high school guys and a couple of junior colleges, an immediate shift from how we started. And now we feel like we have another transition. So this year, 2020, is the most returners, the most depth that we've ever had. And whenever you have that, the most that you've ever had, you get ready to lose a lot of players. So what we're doing here with this class, which I think is a phenomenal class, but will not get all of the press clippings and the rankings, and will probably not be a top 10 class, even though it may be better than a couple of top 10 classes. The reason being is this will be a split class. This may be 6 or 7 high school players, maybe 6 junior college players. So it'll be less in numbers. And the junior college players from our guys that really do this business, it's just so high school driven that we won't get credit for how good these junior college players are that we were able to sign. But what it's going to do is it's going to allow us to get that junior college guy that has played some college baseball that we feel like can immediately step in and help us instead of having to wait for them to get a year of experience. In 2021, we're going to need some guys and some new faces, some new names on the back of their jersey to be able to come in and help us immediately. The other piece of it is what's here currently. I mean, these freshmen are important. It's a top 10 class that's here, but that Nate LaRue, that Ryan Dow, that Johnny Sicoli, that Trace Bright, that Hayden Mullins, that Drew Baker, and that list can keep getting deeper. Those guys are so important. They're like a whole recruiting class for 2021. We're going to add them with these 12 or 13 guys that we'll eventually bring in this 2020 class. And then our sophomore class is going to be imperative to be able to see if we can maintain the same standard. It's never rocket science, but it has to be well thought out and it has to be seen in the future. It can't be like, I can't stand before you this time next year and go like, man, we just lost a lot of guys. We knew this was coming. And so I want 2020 for those guys to go out and leave a great legacy as they roll out and all the guys do great. But I want our freshman class to get ready to have to play every day in 2021. And I want half of our class going back and being JUCO instead of 3 out of 4 of these players being high school. I want a split class because we need some guys with experience to come in because we're losing so many guys.
Some of those JUCO kids, Chase Wilkerson, Bobby Pierce, Garrett Martin, what stands out to you about some of those guys?
Yeah, specifically when you start going Martin from McLennan and Bobby Pierce from out in Arizona, those senior at bats, the Scheffler at bats, the Connor Davis at bats for 4 years, the Rankin Woolley at bats sitting there in the 5 or 6 hole. We felt like we needed somebody with some power. We'd always like to have more power. I was asked the question, why aren't we hitting more? And you know what I think of Gabe Gross. You know how much I believe in him. You know how much I let him take ownership of the space that he's given. I believe in it wholeheartedly. It's all somewhat by design, or at least everybody have an understanding. I want us to hit 100 home runs and be the best two-strike team in America, but the scholarship money and stuff, I could give more in that category, but we've, again, put this thing around pitching and defense, and we've got to keep trying to figure out a way to make the walk-on thing work where those are quality players. But that hitting deal, we do feel like we needed a couple real bats. This is probably the first time in 3 years we went and bought what we think is power in those 2 junior college guys. Guys can get the ball in the air to the pull side. Guys that are threats, because, Holland could do that at times. Right. Julian could lead the SEC for 2 years in RBI. And then you're going to lose these senior at-bats. We needed a couple of JUCO guys. Chase Wilkerson's just an Alabama kid that wound up going out to San Jacinto and junior college, one of the best junior colleges in America, and he's a competitor. It's written all over him that he is just a competitor. And if we lose a bullpen piece, you can throw 95, that doesn't mean you can finish a game. You can have a wipeout slider, that don't mean you're going to be able to win the last pitch. To me, there's such a mentality. Cody Greenhill's just been the epitome of like, hey, I don't know how this is going to happen, but I know how to compete and get the last out. We think Chase Wilkerson's one of those guys that has the potential to do that. And all this experience is going to serve us well. I admit, we're more of a high school developmental pitching staff. Look around our league. These starting rotations are high school, high-end developmental. Casey Mize, Keegan Thompson, Tanner Burns. That's how it happens. That's what our whole league's doing. But again, we feel like we're losing so many in numbers and so many guys that have played big roles that Chase is one of these few junior college guys that we're bringing in with the potential of having the experience and the competitive spirit to be able to finish ball games, which we think makes him a huge piece to this 2020 class.
And that said, you still signed some really talented high school kids, and you just got a commitment from one too. Werner Blakeney, I know, is a top-rated guy. The kid from nearby is at Camden Hill. Carson Swilling.
Yeah, Carson Swilling is probably good to speak to first because, he's right down the road here. But he's in that Chase Wilkerson category. I mean, you're talking about low 90s. You're talking about competitive, kind of a younger version of Chase Wilkerson. But, again, in that reliever-type category, maybe walking in the door. which is going to be really important for us next year. But he's going to be a developmental guy that's going to be special if he can spend 3 years on the Plains. You start talking about, the shortstop position has been good to us, but we've always had a commitment to do that. The recruiting monies that we do spend, the goal is you want to be as good as close to home plate as you can. So that catcher's important. I've never had us be bad at catching and have a great team. You have to be great at catching, and that's the closest to home plate. The pitching is next, and then that next category, once you leave catching in the mound, it goes to left side infield. The shortstop can do anything. Johnny Sicoli, our first baseman now, high school shortstop. Gabe Gross comes to us from Dothan, Alabama with Coach Baird, high school shortstop, third, left field.
Yeah.
We're just playing off of that. And we have signed some amazing shortstop. I think we just wound up getting one of the top 2 uncommitted guys in the entire country in the last few days. Warner Blakeney from Detroit, Michigan, athletically and personality and 6'3", 6'4", left-handed bat, athlete. He's not going to take a back seat to anybody. Bryson Ware from Pearl River Junior College in Mississippi. Again, switch hitter, the shortstop, the athlete, the exciting athlete. The problem or the issue, the challenge is, hey, can we get them here?
Right.
But we have to keep trying to aim as high as we possibly can. We must keep trying to sign the best players in America. If we're so scared of the draft that we're scared of somebody getting here, we might not like the player that we wind up getting. It's all comparison to the league. And after 19 years and really looking at it and going through those 30 games, those 10 consecutive weekends for 19 years, I believe that the Southeastern Conference is the best amateur baseball that's ever been played, ever, right now. We have to keep continuing to get great players because our league is acquiring skill as well as it ever has. And our guys are leaving this Southeastern Conference, and they're making it to the highest level of baseball. I'm not talking about minor league. I'm talking about major league. In astonishingly short period of time. How quick Swanson's an everyday major leaguer. Bregman's an everyday major leaguer. 2 years ago we got the first pick of the entire draft, and I fully expect him to be a big leaguer this year.
Yeah.
1 year removed from playing with us.
He's going to be there for too long, too.
That's right.
Keeps it up.
Just across the board, Ben Bramer just got acquired on the guy from 2 years ago. Our league is amazing, and it's always been good. That's not my point. It's at a point now where these guys can make it to the big leagues in a calendar year and some change. And the success of our league, we have to continue to try to aim as high as we possibly can in recruiting. Understanding at the end of the day, we're going to get who we are, not always who we want. But these are phenomenal players that we're recruiting that, they have to make a decision. What's my best route to the big leagues? Is it signing now, or is it coming to Auburn, being with this great group of coaches and this staff and being developed? Is this the best path for me to get there? And, at this point, I think that happens. We just had this top 10 class that got to campus. I think we got all but one. And, Gunnar Henderson was the first pick of the second round and gets $2.3 million. And he elected to sign with Baltimore. And I'm like, Godspeed, go get him. And we have to continue to try to recruit that type of athlete, even if we lose a guy or two, because that's what it's going to take to compete in the best amateur baseball.
Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah.